Hi, I'm Ruth Shapira, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to this podcast by Inner Judaism, a spiritual look at our lives. In this episode, I'll be doing something a bit different. I recently wrote a piece on Substack about the times we're living in, and I felt that it was important to share an excerpt with you. I hope you'll agree that this is a good decision, so won't you join me? Thanks. I titled it, When Truth is Absent. We are in an inverted age, when many core and foundational beliefs have been uprooted and overturned. We are living it, so we know it. But what does this mean in the context of Judaism? What should we make of the fact that truth, a core value in Judaism, and one with which we actually identify as a trait of the One, is no longer part of our experience? Thousands of years ago, sages in the Talmud wrote that there are two kinds of dishonesty. One is to conceal the truth, and the other is to lie. Both are equally abhorrent in the eyes of Jewish law. Both of these breaches confront us today. Blatant examples abound in political ads, social media posts, quote, news, unquote, reports, advertisements lurking on our search engines, and countless more. So here we learn that this notion is not new, and it has been in play in our own generation for decades, more time than we'd like to think. Have you, like me, thought the situation would get better? I did. I thought people would come around or come to their senses and finally realize that we were headed down the wrong path and that they'd change. But me, like you, I'm still waiting. It hasn't happened. In his commentary on Psalm 126, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz said that it won't change, at least not in our time now, because as a people, we're still in exile from our uncontested homeland. And we should expect that the distortion that we're seeing now is going to seem normal, especially the distinction between truth and lies. For me, the situation that started the frightening ball of twisted lies rolling was the outright denial of the Holocaust. From here in, when I refer to the Holocaust, I will use the word Shoah instead. Shoah means total and utter destruction and originates in the Bible. I, along with others in the Jewish community, I prefer this word because the word Holocaust technically means total burnt offering, which, for me at least, implies that the event was an offering containing some, Christian overtones of a sacrifice acceptable by God. Also, that word Holocaust has been used in other contexts about other horrific events. Okay, so back to the topic and to what for me was a wake-up moment. It was learning about Deborah Lipstadt, now ambassador and special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, but she's the author of Denying the Holocaust, the growing assault on truth and memory. Ready? This was published over 30 years ago. In that book, she grappled with the prevalence of those who persistently deny history. Back then, I found it hard to comprehend that there were just so many people, millions even, who harbored this immense hatred of Jews, my people, the Jewish people, and refused to acknowledge the horrific truth, a truth that was laid bare in photos, testimonies, witnesses, maps, and artifacts. I mean, there was just so much evidence. Could there have been a more unlikely subject of a denial than the Shoah? Well, in her book, Lipstadt named a person who was the primary denier, British writer David Irving. Imagine, there was a face and a name to someone who basically was wiping out my family's existence in Europe because he believed the atrocities just weren't true. How can that be? I'm a living example of the devastation that was caused by the Shoah. My parents' families were decimated. It was equally unfathomable to me that he sued her for libel in the UK. The fact that this trial took place there was itself a stab in the stomach. Why? Because defamation law in England puts the burden of proof on the defendant. Imagine having to prove the Holocaust happened. I found the whole idea so demeaning. Let's be clear. In the UK, I'll say it again, David Irving did not have to prove his claim of denying the Holocaust, but Deborah Lipstadt, a historian, academic, founder of Emory University's Institute of Jewish Studies, and at the time she was a professor of modern Jewish history and Holocaust studies there, she had to prove that the Holocaust happened. I don't know how she did it. He lost, but not after an exceptionally grueling trial. If you want to get a feel for this and really get to understand what went on, you have to watch the 2016 film called Denial. It portrays this unbelievably compelling story that is very, very gripping. So still, after all this, you'd think that that would be the end of it. But no, the world still remains stuck in the persistent world is flat mode, repudiating the mountain of evidence that she brought forward, plus all the evidence that we had, even that she didn't bring forward. In her book, she writes that many of us have been taught to think there are facts and there are opinions. After studying deniers, I think differently. There are facts, she says. There are opinions, and there are lies. More recently, an ADL report in 2023 reported on instances of Holocaust denial that was going on online, and they noted that all but one social media platform has a Holocaust denial policy. Well, that one platform without a policy is Twitter, X. Okay, even so, not a single one at the time of the study, not Facebook, not Instagram, not TikTok, enforced it by taking action against even one user who didn't conform to the policy about Holocaust denial. So is it any wonder then that another recent poll by The Economist finds that 1 in 5 Americans between the ages of 18 and 29 believe the Holocaust is a myth, a fabrication, a story, a lie. So yes, I do take this personally. But truth is of little value when words like genocide are verbal swords thrusted against the very victims of its devastation years before. Use of this word is not questioned by mainstream media either. It stands there as a witness again to the deniers who persist in telling a lie, what we now euphemistically refer to as an untruth or falsehood. This post is about the origin of that, which is in Holocaust denial. So I'm not bringing Israel into this. But we are in the place we are now, with so many lies and distortions, because decades ago, we had an attitude of just letting things go, not wanting to make an issue of things, didn't want to rock the boat. We thought things would calm down. We thought the naysayers would go away. We thought they would be convinced. Well, pick any one of those rationalizations. It didn't happen. And our sages don't offer an encouraging picture of what will occur in these times when truth and lies are inverted. And unfortunately, these are our times. The Talmud says that these times that we're in now, quote, "The wisdom of scribes will putrefy, and people who fear sin will be held in disgust, and the truth will be absent. Normal family relations will be ruined," end quote. Can't you see it? The wisdom that is our tradition is dismissed as archaic, as something that's putrefied, whatever that word is, irrelevant, and only for those who are foolish enough to believe in such things. And those who they say fear sin will be held in disgust. Those who are trying to live by a moral code, a code that originated in an ancient text, are made fun of as believing in something that just doesn't apply to our times. And that normal family relations will be ruined? How many of us have experienced the extreme divisiveness that has strained and ruined so many of our family gatherings and so many of our family relationships? So what is the answer? Well, the sages then ask, so what are we supposed to rely on then? When things are so broken and so fallen apart, what then? Their answer is to rely on Hashem, on the one in the universe, our Creator. And my response is, but what if that is broken too? What if the notion of God just doesn't resonate anymore? After all, that's what we're facing with now also. What are we to do when part of the answer is part of the problem? How can we come to terms with the majority of people who don't ascribe to a moral judge of the universe? In our relativistic society, when everyone's truth is individualized, there's no objectivity. How can we come together about a shared value based on a universal principle of right and wrong? I'm not asking this question in vain. I ask it to motivate anyone who is listening to this, to give you the courage to speak out and speak up against lies. We're at a tipping point when the very foundational truths are being shaken to our core. Believe me, the earthquakes are not just happening out there somewhere, but they are resonating within us. Our tradition is especially beautiful when speaking about the symbiotic connection between us and the earth. And this is the shocking fact, that we think earthquakes are happening to the earth, but actually, the aftershocks are what we feel. What we do now matters. It is now easier than ever to amplify our own voice. Do not be silent. Do not let the deniers of reality walk away with the prize of your lifetime, your moral center. Thank you for listening. If you care to read more of what I've posted on Substack, it's under the name of Inner Judaism. In the meantime, please speak up and stand up. And thank you for listening. Have a glorious day, and make this day better than it was yesterday.